What's up, guys? Headed to another home game session here in Springfield, Missouri. Buy-in's going to be $300. Going to be playing 1-3 again. Hopefully we can have another great session. We're on a 2-session winning streak, and last session was the biggest winning session of the vlog. So let's see how it goes. Hopefully we can keep playing well and running well. What's up, guys? Let's get into some hands here in vlog number 10. So hand number 1, I look down at pocket fives in the small blind. Cutoff opens it up to 15, and I make the call. The flop comes down queen 7-3, so not the worst flop in the world for me. Cutoff bets 20, and I go ahead and make the call. The turn is an ace, so a pretty questionable card for me. I go ahead and check, and so does he. River is another ace. He bets $60, and I go ahead and fold. Not 100% sure I'm happy with how I played this hand. I feel like I could have maybe let it go after the flop, but there's some pretty decent cards that can come for me on the turn that give me a lot of equity and would have given me a chance to just take this one away from him. So hand number 2 was a pretty fun one. We looked down at pocket twos from the small blind. The button straddled for $27, which is not something that's normally allowed in this game, but the person only had $27 left, so they just wanted to put it in blind, so they let it be a straddle effectively. Anyway, I make the call, the big blind calls, then under the gun plus 1 makes it $60, which seems like a weird sizing to me, but whatever. And we both call. So, very big pot right off the bat here. The flop is a fantastic one for me. The flop is ace-9-2 with 2 hearts. The action checks through. I was thinking with the ace-high flop that somebody would definitely be betting. Anyway, turn is a 7 of hearts. I go ahead and lead out for 55. The small blind calls and the big blind goes ahead and folds. So we're looking at a pretty big pot right now. The river is the jack of clubs. I go ahead and check, and the action ends up checking through. The small blind shows ace-queen. I thought it would be a lot easier to just play this as a hand that I would check call with given the board that was out there since the flush came through on the turn. And I got called there. He could have a middling flush, I guess. I don't really love my check. I feel like I should probably go ahead and just do my best to get some value here. But anyway, it works out, and we take down a very nice sized pot. So in hand number 3, we look down at ace-5 of diamonds from the button. Middle position opens to 15. The hijack calls. I call, and so does the small blind. So we're going to a flop multi-way. Flop comes down ace-5-3, so pretty much Yahtzee for us. Action checks to me. I go ahead and bet $25, hoping for lots of these players to come along, as they usually tend to do in these home games. But unfortunately, everybody folds. So we take down a pot of $60. So hand number 4 was a pretty interesting one. I look down at 4 deuce of clubs in the cutoff. It's a straddle pot, and it ends up being limped 4 ways. So we're going to the flop. Pretty favorable flop for us. The flop comes down 7-4-2, so we flop bottom 2 pair. Under the gun plus 1 bets 15. Middle position calls. I go ahead and raise it up to 65 total, and only under the gun plus 1 makes the call. The turn is the queen of spades. Under the gun plus 1 checks. I bet $120, which is on the big side, but I have a very vulnerable hand here. Even though I have 2 pair, there can be a lot of ways for him to improve, especially with the queen of spades bringing a backdoor flush draw. So anyway, under the gun plus 1 checks. I bet 120, and he folds. So we go ahead and take that one down. Hand number 5, I look down at pocket jacks under the gun. I go ahead and open it up to $15. Middle position calls and the big blind calls. So we're going 3-handed to the flop. Flop comes down, king 9-6, so not our favorite flop. We got an overcard out there, but I think our hand is still strong enough to continuation bet. I go ahead and lead out for $20. Middle position calls, and the big blind folds. So seeing call here, I don't know. I don't think we have to be too scared, but we shouldn't be too optimistic. The turn is a 9. I go ahead and bet 35 since I am an idiot and hate money, I guess. Like, need to be checking here, I think, all the time with pocket jacks, because obviously was already behind a king. Now I'm also behind a 9 that all the 9s are probably going to call my flop bet. So anyway, terrible bet. Middle position thinks about it for a while and makes the call. Kind of surprising. The river is another 9, so we have 3 9s on board now. I inexplicably go ahead and bet 45 again. Not sure why. Pretty sure I have a straightforward check. Maybe a check call, maybe a check fold. I'm not sure. Anyway, I bet 45. Middle position, tank calls with king 4. I'm not sure what he was thinking about for so long, but I guess he decided to take his time before putting in with what is essentially the nuts. So hand number 6 was a fun one. We looked down at pocket queens under the gun in a straddle pot. I go ahead and open to $20 and I get 4 callers. So we are going 5 ways this flop. Not exactly what you want with pocket queens, but let's just see how it goes. The flop comes down 8-3-2 and the action checks to me. I go ahead and bet $40 on this extremely safe flop. Middle position and big blind both call. I think I should have probably sized up here a little bit, but I didn't want everybody to fold. Anyway, turn is an 8, so a pretty bad card for me. Anybody who called me with top pair now has me beat. So I go ahead and check, and the action ends up checking through. The river is the ace of clubs. Not a great card for me, obviously, as it's an overcard. Not really sure how I'm feeling about this. Not really sure how many aces my opponents will have. Anyway, the big blind bet's 115. I take my time, see if I can get a read on him. Feel pretty confident in my play here. I think I'm getting bluffed. I go ahead and make the call. Middle position player folds. I don't remember what he said he had. I don't think he said. He just mucked his hand. I show my pocket queens, and I take down a $450 pot, the biggest pot of the session. Hand number 7 was a monster. I'm under the gun +1. I look down at pocket 4s. It's a straddle pot. I go ahead and limp, expecting to have to call a bet. Lucky me, I don't have to. This ends up being a 6-way, limped pot. The flop comes down beautifully for me. Flop is 4-7-2, so I flop middle set. I go ahead and bet $20 into all these players, and 3 players call, so we're very happy about that also. The turn is a 2, so we immediately boat up, no longer have to worry about a flush beating us or anything like that. I go ahead and bet 45, and unfortunately only the middle position player calls. The river is the spicy one. The river is another 4, so we have quads now. I have to figure out how to get the most possible money out of this hand. I think the way to do this is to turn it into a bluff, or make it look like I'm trying to turn something into a bluff. I don't think for very long at all before firing out $125. I wanted to bet enough that I was making it look like that I wanted him to fold so that I could get him to make a crying call. And it seems like that's kind of what happened, because middle position tanks for a long time and ends up making the call. He says he had an overpair to the board, so that's a pretty unfortunate run out for him, as there are lots of hands that could have saved him some money. But with pocket 4s, we take down another $450 pot. After that, we end up losing a kind of dumb one where we call 3 streets after flopping top pair with queen jack. Shouldn't have called all those streets. Definitely could have got away from it on the river. It wasn't a huge pot, but it was sizable and kind of annoying. We also hit quads again. We flop quad kings in a 3-way pot, but we don't get any action, unfortunately. Just bet the flop, small sizing, I'm sure, and nobody comes along.
Well, guys, got hit over the head with the deck today. I think I played okay, not great. In for 300, out for 930. Pretty nuts. I had quads twice today. 2 times. I flopped quad kings once, which wasn't a huge pot, but I had quad fours and that was a pretty big pot. Anyway, went crazy well. Yeah, feeling a little under the weather, unfortunately. That's why I'm doing this in the car instead of outside. It's a little chilly, but not cold enough that I should feel cold, so gonna go home, get some food, take some medicine, and get to work on the next episode. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out my poker hand reviews on this channel. I've got a playlist going. I think I have 2 or 3 up so far. And yeah, thanks for watching. Catch you next time.